I was about to say, they don't know my name's Raheem, but hopefully they do.
Now they do?
Now they do.
There was a song on the topic.
We did a song about it. Speaking of songs, we do songs on many topics. Fertilize has many songs about this topic, which is getting old. And this is something that, hey, we do. This is what happens.
Some more gracefully than others.
Yes. But yes, we are old. But you know what, though? We're old enough, and I like that, because we're old enough to know better, but yet young enough to do it anyway. That's why we hang out on Tuesday nights. That's just the way it goes. All right, somebody need some help with this chorus. We're gonna say, I'm old enough that I know better, young enough to do it anyway, old enough that I
know better,
young enough to do it anyway. Okay, let's do this. All right. I'm old enough that I know better, young enough to do it anyway. Old enough that I know better, young enough to do it anyway. Well, I'm old enough that I know better, young enough to do it anyway. Young enough to do it anyway. Young enough to do it anyway. And I'm old enough that I know better, young enough to do it anyway. Old enough that I know better, young enough to do it anyway. Well, I'm old enough that I know better, young enough to do it anyway. Young enough to do it anyway. Young enough to do it anyway. Life is hard like Dark Souls. Her stress is just part and parcel. See devils scan you like barcode just to gas you up like Arco. See, I spent $3 grand on advertising, and that ain't work. Isn't that surprising? Would be customers passing by it like, sorry about that, man, that's the climate. It's my luck, that should be my catchphrase. Got no health care, need my x-rays. I'm close to Texas with no connections and lose my luggage right on the jetway. As I go along, I'm probably doing it wrong. That would be silly, but what doesn't kill me can most likely go in the song. Looking in the mirror is like checking the news. Every day something that gives me the blues. I'm good on the club, you're expecting the schmooze. File the booze, eventually lose. I go to Subway and hold up the line. Really, I just wanted cookies, I mean it really like the entire time. And I don't make it easy, so I keep it greasy and I keep it cheeky. Nothing is promised. If I'm not rapping, I'm napping. And I ain't afraid of death. I just don't want to be there when it happens. Old enough that I know better, young enough to do it anyway. Old enough that I know better, young enough to do it anyway. Well, I'm old enough that I know better, young enough to do it anyway. Young enough to do it anyway. Young enough to MC front of line. Welcome to front of line. Mid-40s. Tell you what experience did for me. All fall in a bit mostly. You gone, better get sorted, better bet on the ontology. All thoughts told me apologies. All rise, all judge these. Let's tip for when they displease. Record that I poured free. 6-4 that I poured free. Big foreigners were seen. I ignored when they warned me. Eventually, I'll be old enough. Get out how it's old enough. Backlash record been sold enough. Still I see no armistice. Soldier up, so I roll the cat. Put a rap in it. Need to look a little like an accident. Transmit it over antennas. Can't bear witness the past business. Come on, here I go again on stage. End of another long haul day. Yes, if you're wondering, gone great. Nice to meet you all, Shantae. Thanks again for attending my debut. But every time you do roll dice on a nascent scene. Welcome to Nerd Course 19. MC Rollout, y'all! Anyway, old enough that I know better, young enough to do it anyway. I'm old enough that I know better, young enough to do it anyway. Young enough to do it anyway. Young enough to do it anyway. Old enough that I know better, young enough to do it anyway. Old enough that I know better, but drinking on Tuesday anyway.
Give it up for Raheem. You're mega proud.
Thank you! All right.